A little about me. I was born on the 27th of February 1976. Not long after, my father decided to split from the family, so I was raised by my mother. And for a time I enjoyed a happy upbringing, rather innocent and naive, but without a father figure I quickly learned to stand on my own 2 feet. I was a listener as a child. I liked to listen, and my mother was always keen to make sure I listened and to learn in school and to try my best. Throughout school, lower school and high school, I had a select number of friends and I mixed with the other kids, but I was never head of the class or Mr. Brain Box, and so I came out of school with quite a number of awards for merit and achievement, and my specialist subjects in school were geography, maths, English and commerce, all of which I scored highly, and with a fascination for computers. So the first thing I did upon leaving school was enter a computer training scheme, youth training it was in those days, where you actually got paid for attending a youth training experience course and got sent on work placements. So I worked as a desktop publisher for a year, I worked as a systems engineer for another year, and I trained in desktop publishing and advanced computer technology. I then took a BTEC course at college to gain a BTEC qualification in technology and computing, where I studied computer science, programming and accounts, and I furthered my education by taking the degree in integrated technology, which included building circuit boards, programming computer chips and ICs, mechanics and degree level mathematics as well. All this whilst working in a very busy shopper's restaurant in a very busy supermarket, preparing, cooking and serving food, serving customers, doing the dishes. But by this time it was 1996 and something important happened in my life. I realised that life wasn't all it was cracked up to be. I realised I wasn't very happy in that situation, and to make matters worse, I was still living at home. So living with my mother, which had been reasonable for quite some time, had now become very difficult, and I became very inwardly. And you know what they say about teenagers, they become rather anxious to get out of the nest, and they make waves while they're in there, and I certainly did rock the boat. So I ended up with a condition known as clinical depression. Now, I didn't know anything about clinical depression at the time, but after many years it was diagnosed, and still I felt worse and worse. The first thing I did was take the medication, Prozac it was in those days, and that didn't help matters. I quit my university course just after the second year examination results, and didn't bother completing the third year to get the full degree. I changed my job and I left home and moved into my own place in another part of town, and so I was hoping that would change my point of view, but my outlook did not change and my mood did not change, and I got worse and worse and worse over the next 5 years. And so that was a very hard and difficult time in my life. I did try to commit suicide on at least 2 occasions, and I obviously thought about suicide a lot. I went to a counsellor and sought advice from a counsellor and did all the kinds of things that people would do with depression, and I just could not, for love nor money, I just could not smile, laugh or cheer up. In fact, when people tried to cheer me up, it just made me feel worse. So I went down and down into a downward spiral. I changed my job again, went to various meetings and advice groups, and nothing seemed to help. The only light at the end of the tunnel was the fact that I really wanted to get better, and I really wanted to laugh and enjoy my life. So one day I was invited to an alternative therapies show in a neighbouring town, and in that alternative therapies venue I discovered aspects of life which I hadn't even considered before. In there were people working with auras and people's energies, working with crystals, working with magnets and homeopathy and reflexology. There were people receiving massage and psychic readings. So I had a psychic reading and I took away a number of crystals, and that kick-started my interest in alternative therapies and alternative ways of thinking. From then on, my mind was directed towards a number of training groups which promoted insight and philosophy, and followed that through with many other courses, travelling to different parts of Britain and even the world, researching philosophy and sociology and alternative wisdom, new age spirituality, and also I researched books on philosophy, sociology, psychology, and I took an A-level in psychology, and I also took qualifications in counselling, 2 years in counselling. Whilst doing that, I also started up a website, my own hand-coded website using hand-coded HTML, and that was the weight training and bodybuilding guide. Because the internet was very new in those days, I had many people, many views, all reading my weight training and bodybuilding guide, asking me questions, and so I decided to run that jointly with another website, and so we joined forces and became a weight training ring. And so I was a bodybuilder, a weight trainer. I didn't get amazingly far because of my thin physique. I built the muscle and the strength, but I didn't look any bigger apart from hung my shoulders. But I was running the weight training and bodybuilding guide that did gain over 1 million views, and I also trained in the art of Reiki and studied through the various degrees of Reiki to become a Reiki master. And I went to Buddhist classes. I studied Buddhism, meditated with the Buddhists, and went to every single session, every single event they put on for a whole year. And then the following year I went to the Spiritualist Church and trained as a spiritualist, a psychic medium. I developed skills at reading tarot cards and ribbons and auras, communicating with energies, and I developed the ability to empathize and pick up feelings from other people, what's known as empathy, but they told me I was an empath, which basically means I pick up feelings in rooms and from other people, and I have feelings about the past and the future, and yes, oftentimes I know when someone is about to call on the phone and email me and things like that. I became very skilled at reading auras, and I have some knowledge of palmistry. And finally I found myself a girlfriend who later became my wife, and so subsequently, after many years of depression, I finally broke through that barrier, and it took maybe another year of limbo before I realised I was actually in the status quo of life, and I wasn't ecstatically happy, but I wasn't miserable either, which was terrific. And a new wife and a new baby really put me into a new realm. I also decided to take on another course, and into our marriage I took on a BTEC alternative therapies course to become a fully trained Swedish masseuse, a reflexologist, aromatherapist. The course included a full breakdown of all the muscles around the body, all the tissues and fibres, and I got to investigate nutrition and everything which makes the body work from the inside to the outside, how the skin works and the pores, the liver, the kidneys, and right down to the blood. So that was an intensive course. From there I moved on to another course which was the practical philosophy course, which was another 12-month mind expansion course, and I liked it so much that me and my wife attended that course together. And in the meantime, I was by now working as a social carer, an agency social carer, and I would get telephone calls at any time of day or night requesting could I help social care some soul in a care home somewhere. So I would go and be in residence maybe overnight, caring for sometimes very physically, very mentally disabled, very handicapped people, some of which needed intensive care, feeding, taking to the toilet or changing, that kind of thing. So while that was happening, I went on to a degree course and studied social care at degree level, and that included economics and all kinds of things related to social health and welfare. So all that went on for another 12 months, and then the year later I decided to pack that up and start up my own business. And this time it was retail, and it was selling alternative therapy, aromatherapy essences and crystals and things to do with magic and the Wiccan tradition, tie-dye t-shirts and alternative ladies' garments and incense. And so it was a hippie shop, basically, selling all kinds of hippie gear and Wiccan gear and tribal gear. And in the evening I was also running my own courses, my own development courses, where I would introduce concepts to quite a number of people sometimes who paid quite a significant amount of money to learn all about life from an alternative angle. And so I ran those late night courses for a number of years. And then, unfortunately, 2 years into running a successful ladies' garment fashion stroke hippie shop, I then got divorced and the shop closed down, and I moved on to becoming a full-time video editor. I produced the official Soulfest Festival DVD in 2009 and 2010, as well as being a steward team leader. I then produced the official Wicker Man DVD in 2011, and from there I gained a small commission to work for the Utah Saints. This leads me up to the present, being a video editor for a shaman, providing him with hundreds of documentary type films for YouTube, which I recorded and edited for him, and he now runs his own courses in shamanism. So I haven't forgotten my heritage, and if it wasn't for the depression, I would never have gone on the alternative therapies route, knowing the body from the inside out through the philosophy, the psychology and the social work, the counselling courses. I learned about the human mind from the inside out, what makes people tick, and from all the mind expansion opportunity courses I learned how to put all that to good use, and to really, hopefully at least, inspire people to strike out of that box, to aspire to be more than they are, and to try different things, to not be afraid to break out of wherever they are, whichever situation they are in, and to explore the world and the planet and their potential upon it. So I thought it was about time to start up my own courses again, and to divulge everything I know, just in case I don't get to see you guys on a personal level. If I don't get to run any more courses in this area, then maybe I could start doing courses globally. And so this is where the story begins. So just a little extra on me. My core philosophies include live and let live, and that's my prime directive, and I'm quite happy to let other people live however they choose without judgment from me. And it's not my role to interfere in anybody's life, because their lives are their own, and my words aren't there to manipulate people and to direct people and to order people around. I use my words to encourage people and to give people options, but usually never to dictate and to command, that kind of thing. I'm very personable, I'm very open to other people and very friendly. I excel in one-to-one conversations and in small groups, and I can talk to very large numbers of people and have done on many occasions on stages and in various venues, but my attributes allow me to excel in the one-to-one dimension. I am quite shy and avoidant sometimes of busy circumstances and lots of busy action going on. I certainly don't enjoy supermarkets and nightclubs and places where I feel completely out of the population. I don't go in for drinking. I'm not a drinker. I've never got into the club and the social scene, but even though I don't drink, I do smoke, and I have been known to take various drugs. Not anymore, but I have consumed drugs. I have been to various music festivals and went to Glastonbury Music Festival for at least 10 years in a row, and mixed with the new age community and the alternative community. I tend to take my standards of gentlemanly conduct from mainly the 1930s, when etiquette was highly regarded in society, and so I will open doors for ladies and full respect for the opposite sex, of course. I try to be kind and compassionate, very thoughtful towards the people, and giving and thoughtful when it comes to gifts. My hobbies include manufacturing websites and manufacturing various videos, but also I'm a huge film fan and have watched many hundreds of thousands of movies from every era, starting from the very beginning, the very first D.W. Griffith, Max Sennett, black and white flickery efforts. I've virtually seen them all. My favourite period in history for movies is actually the 1930s, 1933 to maybe 1936. So I love the old black and whites. My heroes include Jimmy Stewart, Cary Grant, Clark Gable, and modern heroes include Ayrton Senna, the Formula One racing car driver. And I'm not into sport per se, but I do like the Formula One. I do actually love the Formula One. I enjoy talking about classic computers and old 8-bit computer machines and old classic computer games from every genre, particularly the Commodore computers and the English computers of the 1980s and the 1990s. I don't gossip or communicate about other people behind their backs. I don't waste time moaning and complaining, and so I just get on with it. Whatever job I'm assigned to do, I'm happy to do that. Not really the boss. I'm not a sticky out chest kind of bossy boss person, so I do try to compromise and be adaptable, and I do have a number of faults, one of which is I do like to stay in bed for an unknown period of time in the mornings. I don't tend to get to bed until very, very, very late in the morning, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock, 2 or 3 a.m, so I do tend to get up pretty late. I tend to listen a lot and a great deal to other people. In fact, I'm a boring listener, and I suppose as a philosopher I would be. So my major turn-offs include people that accuse me of not listening, people that accuse me of not being considerate. And as far as things actually making me lose my temper, there really is only one thing, and that is people being hysterical. I have a high IQ, it is 139, and I also have a high EQ and high SQ as well, but I'm certainly not domineering, even though I'm always on the ball, I'm always alert, and I can get concepts just like that. So it doesn't take me long to grasp anything mechanical, engineering, electrical, or conceptual. I can usually be 2 or 3 steps ahead in most conversations, but I keep my mouth closed and my ears open, and that allows me to absorb the information rather than dominate any conversation and any situation. So I'm pragmatic and extremely loyal, faithful, adaptable, and actually I'm quite a good guy. So I think you've heard enough about me, my life story. I hope you've gained something from that insight, but if not, don't worry, we'll certainly be gaining much more insights together over the next few weeks. So stay tuned to this channel, and together we'll look at things which will blow your mind.